So the G1 Climax schedule is out in full. It'll tell you when the big matches are, and from that you can kind of try to work out who's going to be contender and when, and who's going to beat who, maybe, possibly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the schedule and then try and work out from that who I think is going to be competing for the top spots. The most important days for this are the first few days and the last few days. The last few days will obviously decide the winner, and the first few days usually decide who's the front runners and who's the underdogs. So I'm going to start from the last few days, work backwards a little bit, and then go back and talk about the first few days, and then try and work out what's going on. So first off, A block, final day, October 16th. First thing I'm going to note is Shingo versus Suzuki rematch. I presume means Shingo's beating Suzuki to set up a rematch. At least that's what I'm getting from that. The fact that Ishii's got a big match against Jay White on the final day makes me think Ishii might actually be in contention. I expect Jay White to be in contention. I reckon this might mean Ishii's either going to be a spoiler potentially for Jay White, or he could be in contention at this stage. This could be the last day main event. I wouldn't be surprised. Ibushi Taichi's interesting because I don't see Taichi in contention, so I don't think Ibushi's main event in that night, which means he might not win the group. Goto did main event. He won his match prior, and then the main event drew, which put him through, which was awesome. This might have more to do with the tag team title scene than anything else. I think the main match to talk about is Ospreay Okada. I think Ospreay's going to win this. I think what they're going to go for here is Chaos is going to be the downfall Okada in this tournament, and it's going to cost him his World Championship match against Naito. So yeah, what I gather from this is that the main event is probably going to be Jay White Ishii, and then the winner goes through, I guess. Which I'm thinking, just from looking at these fixtures alone, is probably going to be Jay White. So yeah, Jay White main event with Ishii, Ospreay to beat Okada, Shingo to beat Suzuki, and Ibushi and Taichi. Not sure who the winner is, but it's going to set up something. And also Cobb versus Takashi's there. B block final night. Very, very, very interesting. I'm seeing no obvious winner from this. This is a really weird layout. The other one I gravitated to Jay White immediately, but I see nothing like that here. I think, though, Sanada versus Evil is going to be the decider. That's the only reason I can think why they'd put this match last. Which makes me think that Evil's already got a tournament final win this year, and he topped Sanada in the semi. So what I'm thinking this is going to be is Sanada's revenge. Sanada wins, Sanada goes to the final, I think. Kenta beating Naito is probably going to happen too. Usually the world champions go on a win streak at the start and lose towards the end, and I think Kenta is a strong enough opponent. He can beat Naito and probably set up another title match, I guess. Again, you've got Tanahashi versus Zack. I expect, that to be able to rematch again, possibly, or further some sort of narrative. Goto Juice, maybe outside chance Goto's involved. I think slightly less so Juice is involved. I don't see either of them really being alive at this stage. And Yano versus Yoshihashi's Yano versus Yoshihashi, which is going to be my favourite match in the tournament, but not much else to say about that really. So yeah, I think Naito Kenta and Evil Sanada match will determine the block winners. And I think Sanada, which makes me think Sanada versus Jay White the final. Alright, so let's go back slightly further and try and see how this is going to be set up. Alright, second last block A. Okada versus Ishii. Now, the last two nights, Okada's got Chaos members in Ospreay and Ishii. Two guys who could beat him, and it wouldn't really lower Okada's stock. And if you look at this year, what has happened in title matches for Okada? He's failed twice to beat Yoshihashi for the 6-man title, and he also lost to Yano in a tournament he created to determine who is the best wrestler in the world. Now, you notice those two Chaos guys aren't in this group, but two other Chaos guys, Ishii and Ospreay, are, and I think that is what's going to happen. I don't know if this leads to Okada leaving Chaos. I don't know if it leads to Okada heel turn. It all seems rather weird to me. All I know is that I think this is going to be the reason Okada fails to make it, and I hope it builds to something, but if nothing else, that's just interesting, Ibushi versus Yujo is interesting here for me. Either Ibushi's out of the tournament by now, or this win is what keeps him alive. Because it just seems like a weird placement for the obvious fodder Yujo Takahashi to be this late against such a contender. Last chance saloon, this will be for Ibushi if he's not out already. I expect Jay White to beat Suzuki if he goes on to win, because then you probably won't change for the title, so it gives the never open champion a chance to lose and not add to another defense. The other two matches, Shingo Taichi and Ospreay Cobb. I think Ospreay wins, or maybe not. I was going to say Ospreay wins to set up him beating Okada, or if he can lose the Cobb, then it really would be an upset if Ospreay wins. And Shingo Taichi, I'm always intrigued to a Taichi match, but I can't even think of a storyline relevant to say about that really. So now I've covered the last 2 days, I'm going to go back to the start of the tournament and try and work out how we get to these scenarios that I think are going to play out. Starting with A block, Okada versus Ibushi. A rematch from the final last year. I'm thinking that to make you think this is going to be something different this year, you're going to get something different. Okada's going to win. This will make you think, oh, Ibushi's not going to win again. Okada's going to get his title match he's been looking for. And this is going to play into narrative that Okada early beats the hardest challenge he's got in the group, only then to fail to his own teammates later. I think that's what we're getting here. Shingo might beat Jay White in an upset. I can see that happening. Apart from that, Ospreay being still kind of a junior heavyweight can lose to anybody, so I wouldn't even be surprised if Yujiro won here. Ishii Suzuki, great match. I don't think it matters who wins here. I think the wins and losses are balanced out during the tournament. Neither would be a surprise either. Ishii might win the Serpent title match. Possible. And Cobb, Taichi, again, that could be anyone. I don't think that matters too much. Alright, first night of B block. Naito versus Tanahashi. Naito win. World champions. First match since he won the title. I don't see him losing, even if it's to Tanahashi. Honestly, I think this is a waste. I think Tanahashi Naito is a match. I'm probably more excited for that as a match than most matches. I feel like I haven't seen them in a while, despite the fact that both of them are kind of maybe past their prime. Yeah, I think this could have been built to a lot more. So I think it's kind of a waste. I think this could have been a potential title defense maybe. Tanahashi might win in a really big shock. The champion loses his first match. And I think Naito's beloved enough that he can get away with that and not hurt his credibility too much. But I think Naito wins here. Evil versus Zack is a real interesting one. I assume Evil wins. I think Evil will be the front runner in this group, Evil and Naito, and then Sanada will catch him at the end. So I guess Evil wins, but Zack could easily win. I wouldn't really consider an upset. Goto Kenta is an interesting first night because of their history in the LA dojo with Shibata. Maybe Goto to win in an upset, I think. Sanada can lose first night to Yano, and it wouldn't hurt his credibility in the end at all. I think that might happen. And Juice versus Yoshi. Anyone could win that. Probably Juice. I see Yoshi. Unfortunately, my boy scoring very low in this thing. A block. Ibushi Jay White. I think Ibushi might lose the first two in a row. Then he has to fight from behind like he did last year, but ultimately fails. I think that might be what they go for here. Alternatively, Jay White got to the final after losing his first three, and I think he's the first person to ever do that. So Jay White could lose his first three again, and they could tell us that story again. I think Ibushi's going to lose his first two. Ishii Ospreay sounds awesome. I think Ospreay could lose two in a row, and it wouldn't hurt his credibility, so maybe Ishii wins this. Suzuki Taichi is interesting because it's the faction warfare. Suzuki at some point is going to lose his army, and I don't know if this might be the beginning of the end for that. I don't think so. I don't see Taichi being the one to inherit it, but this could start something. As soon as I saw Okada and Yujiro in the same group, I thought Yujiro was going to get a cheeky win night one, you know, just to give me a bit of credibility after losing to Okada for months on end now. But I think what they're going to go for instead is that he beats the guy he lost to in the final night last year. He beats a guy who has been ruining his life, or at least delaying his progress for the last few months. This will tell the story of Okada sort of beating his recent demons, and now he's got no reason to lose, but yet he does anyway to his faction. This could not happen at all. I could be completely out on this, but yeah. And again, I don't see Cobb being a factor. Anyone could win that. I don't think it matters too much. Night 2 for B. Again, Naito champion wins, gives himself an early lead. I could see Yoshihashi beating Evil actually as revenge for that angle they did earlier in the year. That'd be really interesting if they did that. I think Evil's going to be a front runner from the get-go though, so I'm 50-50 on it. It would be interesting to see Yoshi beat Evil here, but I also understand that they want to protect Evil now that he's been given his spot as a Bullet Club upper lad. So yeah, I'm sure about that one. Speaking of losing to Chaos and Okada, I think Sanada could lose to both Goto and Yano back-to-back. If he did win, which I don't think he will, but if he did win the whole thing, he would have to fight Chaos guys for a few months. So that would make sense. Tanahashi losing two in a row could also work, to really paint him as the underdog fighting from underneath. Again, anyone could lose to Yano. He's Yano, you know? Best wrestler in the world. So yeah, Naito win, leader. He could be the only person in the lead at this point. Everyone else could be trading wins and losses. It would be interesting if Naito and Yano were top of the group after this, actually. That'd be really funny. We'll look at day 3 for both blocks, and then we'll just wrap it up. Alright, Okada Jay White. Now, this one's really interesting to me, because I reckon these two will probably be the only two undefeated guys at the block. Again, Okada's getting his hardest challenges from the get-go, and Okada beats Jay White, he beats Ibushi, he beats Yujiro, and then ultimately fails. And then Jay White will pick himself up and eventually win the group. Ospreay against Takagi will be awesome, but apart from that, I don't think it's got much bearing on the tournament. Ibushi Ishii, I think this will be the start of Ibushi's comeback, so I think this is where Ibushi gets his first win. Taichi Yujiro is an awesome match to me. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, apart from that, I mean, Ospreay could be 0-3 and then he mounts a bit of a comeback. That's possible, but apart from that, I don't think there's too much here to talk about. And night 3 for B block. Naito, 3-0. He'll beat Goto, he always does, and he'll laugh at Gedo for it. I think Evil will out-cheat Yano and stop his early dominance in the tournament. Sanada has 3 Chaos guys in a row, which is interesting. He could lose all 3. I don't see that, though. It is Yoshihashi, after all. I think Tanahashi will beat Juice, so he doesn't lose all the matches in the world. And Kenta Zack, I haven't even been keeping track of those two. I expect Kenta to be there in the end, so I expect Kenta to be the favourite in this one. But that'll be a fun match too. Okay, just some quick other notes before we wrap up. For Block A, I think Yujiro could get 0 points in this. I think he's in there to be fodder. He might get 1 win. But apart from that, there's a lot of guys in here. Anyone could beat anyone. There's a lot of Chaos guys in there. You know, Shingo less so, but Shingo will have a good match with everyone. I don't think he's quite been put in a position where he's going to beat anyone. There's a lot of people in this group who can beat a lot of people, so it's really hard to work stuff out. I could see a Suzuki loss to Ospreay at some point. Suzuki Ospreay for the Never title. I think that's a big possibility. But apart from that, I don't think there's too many things to talk about. For the B block, quickly, Night 4 is interesting. You got Naito vs Sanada. It's in Sanada's hometown, like he beat Okada. But I think it's slightly too early in the tournament. I think this might cement Naito's early lead and make you really think Sanada's out of it. So despite the home advantage, a win for Naito, though either works. Kenta vs Evil for Bullet Club dominance is really interesting, because it was kind of a marriage of convenience at first, and I don't know how long this Evil Bullet Club thing's gonna last. I think either him or Jay White might defect to Suzuki Gun and take that over, would be my idea. But apart from that, I think Kenta is going to lose to Juice Robinson to set up that #1 contendership match. Naito Evil is on the 3rd last day, and I think that might be a draw, because I don't think you want to be either man in that thing at the minute. So that's what I'm thinking. And it's on the 3rd last night, so I think it's late enough for Naito to trip up and him still look strong in the tournament. But yeah, in conclusion, I think the winner is going to be Jay White beating Sanada in the final. Chaos will ultimately cost Okada by beating him in his last 2 matches. Jay White's probably going to have like 14 points to top. He's going to need something ridiculous, because I expect Okada to be booked quite strong. Sanada will, I think, win a very much tighter group, with Naito and Evil very close nipping on his tail. One guy I didn't really consider when I originally saw the bracket, and now I think it's a possibility to make the final, is Kenta. His final day against Naito, I could see that being the main event. Kenta wins, Kenta goes to the final, Kenta loses to Ibushi. That's a scenario I didn't think of before. So now my favourite final would be Jay White versus Sanada. Then I think Ibushi versus either Evil or Kenta is a possible final as well now. And, you know, I didn't really consider Kenta a finalist before, but now a bit more. But yeah, I'm more confident in the Jay White Sanada final than I was before. I think that's the favourite now. I guess we'll see. I could be completely off and I'll look like a complete fool by the end of the tournament. Yeah, that's my take. I hope you enjoyed listening. And until next time, adios.